You're listening to Dilaw na Kandila, English-Filipino Horror Stories. Hello everyone, I'm Eric, but everybody calls me Sir Sig, a Filipino writer and horror story host, and this is Dilaw na Kandila. On this channel, I share English-Filipino horror stories that I personally write, inspired by our culture, our beliefs, and the many mysterious stories that exist in the Philippines. I grew up hearing stories about ghosts, spirits, diwata, encanto, and other creatures from our folklore, and this channel is my way of sharing those stories with all of you. Some of the stories you'll hear here are pure horror fiction that I wrote, but many of them are also real-life experiences sent by my followers directly to my Facebook page, Dilaw na Kandila Pinoy Comics. I read their stories, write them into narrative form, and share them here so more people can hear about these strange and terrifying experiences. I also want to be honest with you. My English is not very good, so I use Edge Translator and AI voice to help me tell my stories in English. I hope you don't mind the AI voice, but I promise you that every story on this channel is written with effort, passion, and the goal of entertaining your mind. And maybe even giving your soul a little chill. So if you enjoy horror stories, mysteries, and tales inspired by Filipino culture and folklore, you're in the right place. Turn down the lights, relax, and listen carefully.
The young man feared by monsters. The legend of Andaya. The year was 1984. In Ilocos Norte, between vast rice fields, tobacco farms, and winding rivers, there lived a young man who would become a legend. Not because of wealth, not because of human power, but because of a curse and a blessing. His name was Arturo Andaya. He was 20 years old, the son of a farmer. Quiet, shy, yet intelligent and resourceful, but with a heavy heart. In their barrio, people didn't just know him. They feared him, and his story began with blood. Behind the barrio stood a small slaughterhouse. Every dawn, while most people were still asleep, Art worked there. The floor was always wet with blood. The air carried the sharp metallic smell of iron, sourness, and pain. The walls had long grown used to the cries and groans of dying animals. Art, you finished this one. It's too stubborn, one of his co-workers shouted as they struggled to force a carabao onto the concrete floor. Art was used to the job. His hands were quick, his knives sharp. Every strike, every cut, every desperate cry of the animals buried itself deep inside his chest. Whenever he saw a carabao with tears forming at the corner of its eyes, his heart would pound. I'm sorry. I need this. He would whisper as he reached for the necks of the helpless animals. For the carabaos, they would drive a sharp spike into the top of the head, then strike it quickly. The animal would collapse instantly. And every night when he slept, the memories returned. Nightmares of hundreds of animals, especially the carabaos, howling, chasing him, crying. Their eyes filled with sorrow. But one night, something was different. A carabao was brought into the slaughterhouse. Huge, powerful. The elders said it was the last descendant of a line of sacred carabaos that once saved the barrio during a terrible drought. 20 men tried to pull it down, but none could. The animal fought. It refused to die. As the men held the ropes tight, a veteran butcher shouted, "Art, you're the one who can take it down." Art approached slowly. His hands trembled, not out of fear, but because he locked eyes with the carabao. It was crying, and somehow it felt as if it was begging him, "Please don't." Art closed his eyes. He stepped closer and gently held the animal's head. In one swift motion, using the strength and skill he had mastered in the slaughterhouse, he brought the carabao down. It crashed onto the floor. Then, with the first cut of his knife, a powerful echo thundered throughout the slaughterhouse. The workers screamed and stepped back, and Art suddenly lost consciousness. While he was unconscious, he dreamed a blinding light, and from that light emerged a being he could not explain. A massive carabao with the body of a man wrapped in golden light. Its eyes shone like the moon. "Are you happy with what you are doing?" the voice asked, echoing as if it came from both the earth and the sky. "Killing innocent creatures whose only wish was to serve humans, like your farmer father." Art fell to his knees. "I have no choice. I need money for my family. If I don't work there, we won't have anything to eat. This is the only thing I know how to do, kill." The spirit slowly shook its head. Its voice sounded like gentle thunder. "There are many ways to live. You do not need to spill the blood of your companions upon the soil. Remember this. The carabao is not merely an animal. They are partners. I have lost count of how many of my kind you have struck down, child, but I will not demand payment. Instead, I will give you a chance to change. Use your abilities for something else." The spirit slowly faded like smoke, leaving Art kneeling there, crying. He woke up 3 days later. He was inside his home. Beside him sat his mother, Aling Marta, crying softly. His father, Mang Celso, stood beside her, his voice trembling. Their younger daughter, Lyra, clung tightly to her brother. "My son, we thought you were gone," his mother whispered as she stroked his hair. "You were unconscious for 3 days," his father added. "Kuya, please don't go back to the slaughterhouse," Lyra begged. "I am scared." Art said nothing. He looked at his family, their eyes filled with both fear and love. Inside his mind, a question echoed. What is the point of the money I earn if the price is the tears of the people I love? Later, when he was alone in his room, he felt something hard in his pocket. Slowly, he pulled it out. A medallion, shaped like a carabao horn with ancient markings. A small charm, glowing like a golden star. He bit his lip. This was no ordinary stone. It was the gift left by the spirit of the carabao, which meant his dream had been real. The next morning, Art stood up and made a decision. He left his job at the slaughterhouse. Instead, he returned to his father's farm. He plowed the soil. He planted crops. For the first time in years, he breathed freely. But around the barrio, whispers began to spread. Some carabaos are disappearing. Bodies are being found torn apart in the forest. Some say the Aswang have returned. With each passing night, Art felt the growing weight of the medallion in his pocket. It felt like a mission he could not escape. At the village store, farmers whispered among themselves. Have you heard about the legend of the Calyon bloodline? One man said while buying sugar. They say one of them still lives here in our barrio. Descendants of Yaswang. Strong, fast. Their bones are like iron. Bullets can't kill them. Maybe that's the one who killed Ka, peleing in the forest yesterday, another replied. His body was torn to pieces. The shopkeeper quickly interrupted. Hey, don't gossip like that here. You'll bring bad luck to my store. Art sat quietly nearby, listening, but inside his heart, the voice of the spirit slowly returned. There is still time to change, child. Use your strength in another way. And that was when Art realized something. Maybe the medallion was not a curse. Maybe it was his new duty. That night, he walked through the rice fields. The moon was full, the wind brushing against the tall stalks of rice. He held the medallion tightly. If this is real, if you truly chose me, then I'm ready to carry this responsibility, he whispered into the night. Then suddenly, a sound. Art heard the cry of an animal and the shout of man. His heart pounded. He ran toward the noise until he reached the roadside, where a large truck was parked. There, beneath the shadow of a street post, he saw the men of Captain Rogelio Salazar, poachers, tying a rope around the neck of his father's Carabao. The animal's eyes were wide with terror. Let it go, Art shouted. One of the men laughed while smoking. Well, look who's here. The butcher boy. Art stepped forward, gripping the medallion in his pocket. But before he could reach them, 3 men rushed him. One punched him in the stomach. Another kicked him in the chest. He collapsed into the mud. Kid, watch who you're messing with. One of them laughed as he swung a BOLO. At that exact moment, the medallion glowed. The world seemed to stop. A strange power surged through Art's body. His hands felt like steel. His chest burned like fire. He grabbed the BOLO from the man's hand without being cut, and in one swift motion threw the man like a toy. The man slammed against a tree and lost consciousness. The other goons stepped back in shock. The medallion. He's holding a cursed medallion, one whispered in fear. Captain Rogelio himself stepped down from the truck. A large man wearing a barong, holding a gun. He walked slowly toward Art. Hey, butcher boy, don't fight this, he said, firing a warning shot near Art's feet. I'll let this pass because of your work in my slaughterhouse. But next time, he laughed darkly. You'd better be grateful if it's my gun pointed at you and not red eyes and sharp fangs. Then he turned and left with his men, driving away and leaving Art standing in the road, bleeding but unbroken. But that was only the beginning, and from that night on, the legend of Art Andaya would only grow darker. The young man feared not only by a swang, but by humans as well. Years later, the rice fields flourished again. Carabaos worked without fear. Children played safely on the roads. But on cold nights, whispers still drift through the wind. Art Andaya, the young man feared by both a swang and man. No one knows where he is now, not even his family. They only remember his last words, that he had a duty he must fulfill. But sometimes Farmers say they see his shadow standing beside the river or sitting beneath an old tree. And once at dusk, someone heard him whisper while staring at the flowing water, the mutia glowing softly in his hand. Thank you for giving me a new perspective on life. Guide me in the battles yet to come. And there, the story ends.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed hearing Filipino tales, folklore, and true stories from my culture. The Philippines is a land filled with mystery, old beliefs, and stories that have been passed down from generation to generation. Through this channel, I hope I can share a small part of those stories with all of you. If this story gave you chills, or reminded you of something strange that happened in your own life, then maybe the world is more mysterious than we think. If you enjoy Filipino horror stories, folklore, and real paranormal experiences, and you don't mind that these stories are narrated using an AI voice, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next story. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next story. And if you have your own scary experience, something you can't explain, something that still haunts you until today, you can send your story to my Facebook page, Dilaw na Kandila Pinoy Comics. I read your messages, and some of them may become the next story featured here on this channel. Remember, sometimes the most terrifying stories are not the ones we imagine. Sometimes they are the ones that really happened. This is Sir Sig, and thank you for listening to Dilaw na Kandila Pinoy Comics. Until the next story, keep the lights low and keep the candle burning.